Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening. It's Jason Crone, Vishal Sabia, Yvonne Johnson, and I'm Nick Desai. And we're going to talk to you about Leap. Before I say anything, I want to say a huge thank you to John and Mike and Ada and Jesse, who work tirelessly. And this isn't like YC or Techstars or anything else because they don't take anything for doing this. They're doing this to foster an ecosystem of great founders. And I think they deserve a round of applause. So many of you in this room and many on the Zoom, you have young kids. And like I do, I have three of them, and she has two of them. And you struggle to get your kids to read and get them off their tablets and watching videos. And you fight with them to read, and they want to be on their tablets. And sometimes we're the ones guilty of handing them tablets because we just need 5 minutes of peace and quiet, right? But what if we could turn that screen time into learning time in a way that kids love? It's love so much that they don't even realize they're learning. Well, that's Leap, and that's the startup we're going to tell you about. Next slide. So, reading in America is at a crisis level. It's epidemic. It's horribly bad, right? Two-thirds of fourth graders are below reading level. There's no stat that's encouraging in this market, and reading is the single greatest indicator of every measure of success or failure in life, from health to incarceration to income to everything else. Kids are spending 7 times more minutes per day slack-jawed couch potatoes watching videos than they are reading. Despite that, and despite the fact that parents are trying between tutors and apps and digital things and gizmos and move over this way. Okay. Gadgets and whatever. We're spending $1,000 a year and it's not working. On top of school, it's not working. We're failing at this problem. Next slide. So we made a bet, and the bet is that kids are organically creative. I don't have to tell my kids to draw or play with stuff or make stuff out of Play-Doh, but I do have to tell them to read. So we bet on that creativity. And it turns out that there's research at top universities around the country that suggests that kids, if they can make their own stories, if they can create the story, they're more likely to read it. They're more likely to read more often. They're more likely to spend more time reading, and they're more likely to develop the critical thinking skills that we all want our kids to develop to succeed in life. So we took that bet and we built an alpha called Smart Dreams. This is a live app in the App Store right now today. If you go to your App Store and search Smart Dreams Bedtime Stories, you can download it. It's free. And based on a few quick inputs from a child between the ages of 3 to 10, children can create compelling stories with them as the heroes and characters embedded in these illustrated dynamic stories. In the last 11 days alone, that app has had 45,000 downloads. 11% of our users at 90 days are daily active users who are spending more than 30 minutes a day reading. And more encouraging than the great reviews are that we've talked to many of these parents, and anecdotes aren't data, but many of them say they would spend up to $10 a month for an app like this, and that is improving their kids' reading. Next slide. But we want to do a lot better than that. We don't just want to, it's easy to build an app on top of an LLM that creates some stories based on your inputs from your kids. What's hard is to build a child literacy platform that truly keeps kids engaged and that's collaborative in a way that we want our kids to be. We're all worried about what they're sharing online, but yet we want them to be socially engaged and work with their friends. And when my kids can share their stories with their cousins and their friends, they love doing that with each other, and that's scalable. And scalable is a critical point. There's a shortage of 165,000 primary school teachers in America right now. We're not going to solve this problem with teachers. We're going to solve this problem with technology and making tech that can reach all of these kids, keep them engaged, and making it affordable. Most of us in this room with young kids can afford the kinds of options that aren't available to 95% of the American population. So bringing the price down by 80, 90% to build a large business, but build it at a price affordable that's proven to kids, help kids learn. So that's what we spent the last 3 days building, is an initial demo of that platform, which is what I'm going to show you right now. So a few days ago, my son Kieran, who used voice you'll hear momentarily, came and asked me about lemonade stands. He wanted to build a lemonade stand and understand interest rates. And in a he's a bright kid, and he was like, "What is this? Do I need to borrow money? And what's this interest rate business?" So he in a few seconds and a few inputs made this incredible story, which you will hear now. Assuming the audio cooperates.
My name is Cannon. I want this story to help me make a lemonade stand.
Then he's so cute.
I want my dad, Nick, to be in the story.
Hey, I made it into the story, and he's reading these prompts himself. This is all he's doing himself.
I want the story at my house in Palo Alto. I want to know what interest rates are.
So it takes these inputs, works with him. There's a few steps and more inputs he can provide. He can go as deep as he wants, and it will create what happened here. It will do something interesting. What you will see momentarily is a rich, interactive story that's illustrated. There it is, rich, interactive story.
I still don't get it. Who is this?
Sorry, technical. That's my son right there.
My name is Cannon. I want the story to help me make a lemonade stand.
It's not a good demo without technical difficulties. In the meantime, for any of those of you who are
I want my dad, Nick, to be in the story.
Which is why my son isn't here right now. Otherwise, I wanted him to show you this himself. He is celebrating Diwali with his grandparents. Okay, so can we? Okay, so you might hear a little bit of this again. Okay, so you're going to see a story here that comes to life momentarily. Here it comes. Well, he's not talking now. So, okay, so there's a story. It's a little bit hard to read, but it's a rich story. All of these illustrations happen. There's a piggy bank. There's a lot of great stuff. He gets to the end of the story, and the story asks him, "So now do you understand interest rates?" Because that was the point. He wanted to understand, and he answers. Okay, well, he answers, "No, I still don't get it. Who sets the interest rates?" It doesn't get into the whole detail of Janet Yellen and the Fed and all that, but it explains to him who sets the interest rates. And then he takes his story and he shares it with his cousin Gia. And Gia wants to change the story after she reads it, which you will hear her voice if the audio is working, which it isn't. But she wants to change the story to include river otters. And you will see a story that now has a kid and river otters making a lemonade stand. And I don't know what part the river otters are playing in that. Are they customers or vendors? Now I'm coming to you. Okay, let's move past this. But this is all possible for kids in the K through 5 age group, where we take their interests and feed them into their stories that they create and share that helps them learn, right? That's the point of that demo. And what we want to show is that we can engage kids and that we can improve their learning. That's the holy grail, right? If kids don't even realize that they're learning and they do it, that's the best kind of learning of all, right? Next slide. Now, wait, didn't we miss a slide? Oh, no, sorry. Go to markets. We want to get, right now, we want to suck the oxygen out of the room. We're focused on getting users, right? And we're off to a good start, okay? We have 30,000 email addresses of parents in our demographic, in our ideal demographic, who've already registered for the alpha version. And our target customer is working moms with 2 or more kids in K through 5. Of course, dads want their kids to read too, but that demographic, they're the ones who are the fish are jumping in the boat, and those kids, and they're busy and they're tired, and we encourage our current audience, we ignite them to share through the application, to mix stories and get their kids sharing their stories. So each kid turns into 5 kids or 7 kids, and get the momfluencers. This is a real snapshot of a real Instagram post from a momfluencer named Amy Nelson, who found this app on her own and said she won over her daughter from playing Roblox to doing AI. This story had 3,500 shares and got us 1,000 downloads, right? For not a nickel of spend. Next slide. Now, from a competitive perspective, yeah, anyone can write prompts to GPT or LLM and get them to make their own story. That's easy. What's hard is we want to customize, and this is where these brilliant engineers come in and make our own LLM that's application specific, that learns from each kid and what they're interested in, but also creates stories that are unique and different. We most importantly want to make the thing engaging and prove that engagement, and that, hey, kids are reading and they actually use it, and it's social and it's affordable. Those are the areas that digital tools and tutors and GPTs and books, if books were going to get kids to read, they'd be reading already. They've been around for eons. Next slide. And we think we are the right team to do it. I was blessed and lucky in this cohort to work with 3 brilliant co-founders. Between the 4 of us, we've founded 9 startups. We have 5 kids, not together. And we are a diverse array of technical, brilliant technical people, product, marketing, and growth people, and the mouth, as I am. We thank you for listening, and we open up your questions. Thank you so very much.
Any questions in the room? Yeah, was
He's good. 1 second.
so yeah, can you speak in the mic so the people in Zoom can hear you? Yeah.
Hi, people on Zoom. I'm curious how you think about AI changing education models. Like there's schools like Alpha School that like their whole thesis is no teachers. They want to basically have no teachers so that they can use AI to teach the students, and like how you think about those types of products versus like selling to schools directly or to moms.
Her question was, how do we think about education-specific LLMs versus that replace teachers entirely, right? Was that the question? Versus schools. Yeah. Should I? Okay. Our answer to that, I think, would be, as a parent, first and foremost, would be that there is a social aspect of kids being in school that is irreplaceable, and there's a more and more homeschooling in America that I don't think is necessarily the great trend. I think AI native schools, from the perspective of enabling the access to and universal availability of knowledge on demand to any kid in this new world we're going to live in, is critical, but not as a replacement to teachers. We should champion and reward teachers and encourage more people to become teachers. That's my personal answer. I don't know if that answers your question exactly. Next question.
Have you looked at the pricing and thought about an analysis of how big this can get? Is this the kind of company that I don't know that we've seen any, startup indie educational app publishers get very, very big? And then how do you think, I guess this is a lot of questions.
Yeah.
How do you think about like IP publishers like Disney or somebody who has like brand with this cohort competing over time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Which one should you take first?
You can kind of roll it all in.
Yeah, all in one. You might have to repeat them for me. So one, you asked about brand and IP. So one of the things that we really like about this platform and how we designed it is that the kids are creating the content. There certainly is a world where we can imagine, we've certainly thought of a lot of things where how we bring in like special characters and things like that. Maybe it's an upsell or an in-app purchase. But because of the way that kids are actually generating the content themselves, we're not too worried about that, at least at this point. You had another question. Pricing. Great. Yes. So what we know now is that in talking to all of our existing users and talking to a lot of prospective users, that there's a lot of willingness to pay. So we've tested a few different price points. There's definitely a willingness to pay. I would say we're of the mind right now, kind of knowing that there's a lot of different ways we could monetize it, right? Subscriptions or in-app purchases, wherever we decide to go. Right now, we're most focused on proving out the engagement and that we can increase a child's reading level, because once we prove that out, we're not worried about how we might monetize that. We feel like we have a lot of options.
And just yeah, but just to expand on Yvonne's answer, there's an important point to mention. There are 35 million kids in grade school in America at any given time. Right now, there are, and you're right, absolutely right. The biggest ed tech companies like Coursera did 750 million in revenue. That's a big company, but it's not on the scale of what in other tech spaces you can accomplish. We think that's because AI presents an opportunity to stay with the kid from kindergarten through however much they get educated and evolve with them, and B, because this has always been done with content rather than consumption rather than interaction, and we want to differentiate ourselves on interaction.
How do you figure out what reading level to write the story?
So it starts with age. So we try to give age appropriate content. Then it looks at how much time the kid spends reading the story. There's modalities we'll build in where the kid can click on words they don't understand, et cetera, and then adapt. And one of the things we want to do down the line is let them take pictures of their vocabulary words for each week and work them into the story. So we're also helping parents relieve the stress of, did you do your homework already, right? You're nodding your head, so you must have kids in the category.
So like the another piece of it, and this is a big ask from parents, is that they don't know the reading level of their children. And so that's something that we feel confident that we could provide as part of it.
Another couple of questions from the product perspective. You mentioned that so age is a determinant of kind of the reading level. How long of story does that also determine the length of the story? And then I guess I'm wondering, maybe hate to go here, but kids, are there guardrails as far as like safe content going into story? I'm just wondering, could they write something horrific or otherwise unsavory?
So there are aggressive guardrails about the content, very aggressive guardrails about words and content. And the length of the story is determined by the age of the child. And one of the things we're building in with preparing is that my kid creates chapter 1, another kid creates chapter 2, and the story keeps evolving, going, and everyone's interested in reading the co-created book.
Yeah, one of the other things we're looking at is building custom LLMs for this. You know, ChatGPT is great, but it's not really specific for this, and as you said, right, not really built to have guardrails for kids specifically, right? As protective as they are, it's not there yet. I think most of you would agree. And then the aspect also, even when it comes to sharing and things, you could do some very interesting things such as like you control who they can share it with, as such, right? It's not like, oh, they're going to post on YouTube or Facebook or something like that. You can choose they only share it with their family or their friends. You can control their shared group essentially. So you can do some interesting things.